And it's now interesting to see that and to hear that it didn't work. And it was, for us, clear from the beginning that a music that is still a niche can't turn into mainstream.
I mean, even in, if you look at going to New York, or I was just staying in New York for 3 months at the beginning of the year, and on any given weekend, there was 50 to 60 RA parties that were like RA tech house parties or techno parties, and that's too many parties for any city or any scene to really keep up with. And that's, at the end of the day, burst the bubble. That's going to be the end of all of us.
I mean, listen, I'm gonna be upfront. I'm not a big Oscar G fan. I understand what you're doing, bro. So I respect you. And right now, nobody's holding it down like that Oscar G.
How do you feel about this? Because I feel that the culture.
I feel great.
You don't feel that the culture is suffering right now?
Yes, but we're here having a conversation, fighting for it.
Right.
Everybody wants it,
Right.
right? Everybody wants to see New York back on the map or bring New York back. This conversation is being had by every single person.
Johnny Fontana, half amazing TV, half amazing discussion. And the question is, why is Oscar G saving New York's house music scene?
Music is the key. I say it all the time. Do your homework. These little things people don't think about it. Dudes are dressed up in a different lifestyle, and they go tell people, yo, this is what it is, and people believe it. Also, very important. If you're doing your research, don't believe everything you hear. There's a lot of people fronting out here. A lot of people fronting, acting like they know, telling other people's stories.
And so we begin. Now, I really don't do a lot of gossip, chatty patty type of vlogs, but I think I want to start because there's a movement and there's something special going on, and New York is really dear to me because that's where I was born, right? Born in NYC, tested overseas for a few years, about 7 years, bottled in Miami, spent 10 years in Miami. Now I'm served chill in DC, right? But I'm sold to Jersey, you know, that's where I sowed my oats and everything else, but I've been around, so I have a pretty good understanding of not just the New York scene, right? It's not just me just understanding the New York scene or understanding the hip-hop scene or understanding the European scene or understanding social dynamics. It's like everything combined, like with culture, fashion, you know, music, you name it, collecting, like everything, you know what I'm saying? So on that combined level, I can give you a better perspective, right? So I was going through Instagram. I'm not a big Instagram dude. I'm kind of quiet on that. I don't got too much followers, whatever. But I was doing the Instagram thing. I just got on it, matter of fact, and I saw some dude called out Oscar G. And he was like, yo, that wasn't you and stuff like that, boom, boom. And so now Oscar G replied, was like, yo, like, obviously probably was just, it wasn't, you didn't understand what was going on and such. You know, he was very professional and very PC about it, you know what I'm saying? But what I want to do, I want to explain to you what that was. Because a lot of people right now, they don't understand what's going on right now. So let me give you a little bit of tape, sort of bring it back so you can understand where I'm coming from, so you can understand and see how legit I am, right? I was born in New York, man, and since 92, 93, I was on the hip hop thing, you know, DJing. I mean, I've been in the game, like in terms of music, since 88. But when it comes to like music, you know, DJing since 1993. But even while I was in high school, in the 92, 93, I was recording Sunset Mayhem, 89.1 WNYU, Stretch Arms Armstrong, Bobito, and Lord Sear, 89.9. You know, going to school with the Big L freestyles, Nas freestyles, like before anybody was put on, you know. And I came from, I was living in Queens at the time. Then I moved to Jersey, went to school with DJ Envy, DJ Clue, picked up mixtapes like every Tuesday. So like I was on that culture level, right? Went to school in Brooklyn for college. But not only that, around like the 95, 96s, I was put on to Strictly Rhythm, you know, Rare Arts, Two Without Hats.
Here we have a new production. The title of this verse is Introduction. Guaranteed to keep you jumping, jump for joy, cause it's time to make noise. What you hear was made to amuse you. Another cut, so get used to the fact that we're back on the right track. I'm Daz, first and not last. Dropping lyrics in total contrast. With the privilege of doing the intro. My rap is clear and it's quite simple. I never thought it could be so rewarding. Getting paid and cuties adoring the way that I glide, the way that I soothe, the way that I dance that gets you in the mood. So crack a smile, cause I got the recipe to make a dance to any kind of melody. Who do I thank? Me and my ability. As the music dwells in your brain, you dance on the floor with a glass of champagne. Yeah, I'll keep you moving, just as long as your momentum's going. I got the talent to keep your dance flowing. Not to brag, I guess it was meant to be. Not 1 or 2, but 3 on the MIC. And now it's time for me to step off and go. Camp's next, it's okay, just let it flow.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you feel me? Like, on that level. 96 came around, Merc, Ralph Falcone, Oscar G's, Clavelis and Cole. So around that time, you had that sound. Because I moved overseas for about 7 years. And the sound in New York was very New York. But still, even though I went overseas, I lived in Japan, I lived in Australia, Thailand, Latvia. But I still kept that culture aspect. I bought records out there. I did booth writing, that's where the concept booth writing comes from. Collecting Jordans, you know, still rocking the mixtapes. DJ Camilla was my man from Queens, you know. So like, I was really immersed in the whole scene. But now going overseas now, right, there was a different sound. And you could tell that it was regional, because that's what I really studied. I studied the culture in Europe and Asia, and I understood that when I went for the first time, I was listening to Choose. And a lot of around like 2001, 2002, and like his sound was very Balearic, and you can tell that was from Spain. You had guys from the UK. You knew what the UK sounded like, very funky, jazzy, groovy. Then you had stuff from like Switzerland. You had stuff from Amsterdam. So you had a lot of different regions, but you could tell where these guys were from, right? And funny enough, a lot of the in Europe, a lot of the music was soulful, like, you know, black house music. And you would go to a club and it's all white people, but you're listening and you're singing along to black vocals, which to me didn't throw me off, but I was like, whoa, like this is good to go, because I didn't really experience that in New York. Because in New York you had the Thunderpusses, you had Jonathan Peters, you had Clavelis and Cole. And you know, you had some other guys before that, if I can remember, Junior Vasquez, all these guys, Victor Calderon, Danny Tenaglia. But Roger Sanchez, his style and the Eric Murillo style, that's the ones that I took. They went overseas. You see what I'm saying to you? So I took more of that style, so I was able to now gravitate towards more of that. And they were living more overseas, but I didn't really know that they were from New York until I went overseas, which was weird. You know what I'm saying to you?
We've been having a conversation, and we're talking about how progressive house music is huge here. I mean, is huge in New York, and whereas, you know, they have a deep, funky house soul going on, and it's not. It's harder to fill in those rooms in New York compared to Europe. So why? What do you have going on out here? What you've been seeing with your sound compared to in the States?
In the States, you know, we went maybe we make a small tour like New York, Washington, and LA. And LA, I'm sorry, man, that you're American, but I hate that city. New York is the place. I love that city, but everybody was talking about LA.
But the crowd was better in LA.
I was surprised because, you know, I know it's not the place. That's, you know, you can see that all the main house DJ, they play more in Europe than in America.
Yeah.
You know, people like Eric Morillo, Roger Sanchez, they come from New York, but where they do their money is in Europe. It's not in America. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Roger Sanchez, he spent 85% of his life in Europe. Eric Morillo is thinking to move to living in Ibiza. You know.
Yeah.
But even
he practically lives there now anyway.
But even the guy for like Jeff Mills on the techno scene, I think he's even living in Europe now because his business is here.
Now I'm gonna explain to you what's going on now, what's happening, and why dudes are bugging out with Oscar G. I came back in 2004. I was living in Miami, but before that, I spent some time in Jersey, you know, just to get reacclimated, you know, back to the States and stuff like that, because I didn't have a house, whatever. So, and around 2004, that's when Chus and Ceballos came down, and that's when guys like Junior Jack and Kid Cream, they came down. But Junior Jack and Kid Cream, they had that defected sound, that really party, the Afro beat, like the really vocal, clubby house. You know what I'm saying? Like that real Caribbean vibe. And you know, you had Chus, he had that real dark, you know, Balearic versus like the island, you know, kind of stuff, you know, for the ladies. So you can tell. So when they came down, Chus and Ceballos, they were greeted like well because of that drums. You know what I'm saying? Like that real big that big room sound. With Junior Jack and Kid Cream, when they came down, they were playing more of that like bolo 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 bolo, and people didn't understand it. Like I was there, like I was at the club. The opening DJ, he was playing more progressive, like a progressive deep, you know, opening set. Cats were vibing to it because it was like really, you know, it was Cameo, New York, right? October 2004, and then they came on, and now they started putting on that defective vibe. You know what I'm saying? That real like Ministry of Sound type of stuff, like, you know, like the housey stuff, vocal, and people just didn't understand. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of weird. So when I met, and that's the start of it, because that's when everyone really started coming through. You know, just for some reason that time, a lot of the DJs started like doing more traveling and stuff like that. So everything now started becoming 2020, YouTube, Facebook, and so people started seeing a lot of this stuff. People started producing their own stuff because a lot of the stuff was going digital. You know what I'm saying to you? So that was a big change right there. So what happened was that you had guys like Victor Calderón. He basically started to change his sound because he's like, I want to be more international and less New York. So he started doing a little bit more of the tech stuff, techno, whatever, the slower, deeper stuff, and got away from like the Deborah Cox, you know, Madonna remixes, like the big progressive stuff, you know. So all that New York, that real progressive, you know, Thunder New York style anthem stuff sort of got away, and it started adapting more of a wide open vibe because now more people were getting into house and everything. But what happened was that while Miami, it's still from that 2004 to 2007, it still had that flavor because it had the international appeal and stuff like that, whatever. But it started slowly going towards tech, and because now more people that were not from the culture to begin with started getting involved. So like they weren't like really from the culture, they just came in like right here. So when you have these people come in, they don't understand like the history, they don't understand like the sound. So now that's why you have a lot of more tech stuff. You have a lot of more techno.
Talked about the bubble. Now, really what we're looking at right now is an oversaturation in kind of one genre of music. You know, like within our genre, within like underground, tech house, tech, whatever you want to call it these days, there are too many parties. Like just flat out, there's too many parties.
I think the only reason that those things are happening is because hip hop itself is getting more diverse because it's getting bigger. It doesn't have anything at all to do with generations changing. So look, when you had hip hop when we were younger, hip hop pretty much affected like this group of people, right?
Right.
Add 10 years to that, it affects this group of people. Now when you're in 2014, it's affecting this group of people. So you have all of these different elements coming into hip hop. It's not because generations are changing. It's because hip hop is changing. Hip hop is now encompassing more people. It's encompassing, no offense of course, but it's encompassing more white people, more rich people, which those elements were not there when we were younger.
And see, people keep thinking that hip hop and house music is different. No.
Why don't you dance house, for example?
I love house. I'm trying to learn, but here's the secret. House dancing, breaking, and Spanish hustle, webber, and lofting all come from rocking. Rocking was the original New York dance. It split. The music was two styles. The 4x4 and the syncopation. This is hip hop. The other was disco. These two movements separated. Rocking went to disco. They went to lofting, freestyle, dale huevo, and then house. Rocking on this side went to breaking. See? But at one time, they were the same dance. So my point is, in a sense, I do house because I'm a rocker. And I know all the steps. So there.
If you have a Black Lives Movement, if you have, any kind of movement for police brutality, oppression, education, gentrification, guess what? Hip hop was fabricated around the same time that New York was being, that house music was being fabricated, because they were in the same places, same areas. And when I say fabricated, I'm not talking about the inception, because everyone can say, oh well, DJ started in Switzerland by some DJ, radio DJ. You hear rap started in Jamaica, whatever. And I'm not talking about Kool Herc. People are saying that it started in Jamaica from someone else. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact is that it became fabricated. I'm talking about when it comes to fabric, when it comes to like the lineage and the soul and the culture. It started becoming fabricated in places like Detroit, Chicago, and New York, in terms of like, the hip hop scene was New York, Queens, when it came to like all the different elements, when it came to DJing, b-boying, MCing, and writing and stuff like that, fashion, all that stuff started being fabricated and, started generating there. So even if it wasn't incepted, just the fact of like the culture started being fabricated in New York and in Chicago and stuff like that, in Detroit.
You have to do your homework. You have to do your history research of your city, where you live. You have to research who's the B-boys, who's the legends, who's the old school in your city first. No matter what part of the world you are, you have to find out who the old school is in your town. That's number one. And then, after you got that, then you go to the New York history. And you find out as much as you can from as many people as you can, because you have to know and respect the tradition and the elders. You have to know what they have been through. You have to know the terminology. You have to know the stories, to me, in my opinion.
So around the 2005, 2006, the sound started changing over because of the fact that it became now bigger. So now it became more like, what is this? What's going on? Radio started playing it, and now things started going from the actual housey type of stuff to more like the electro poppy, but it was always there. You see, that's what a lot of people forget. You always had the pop remixes, especially in New York. You had the Deborah Coxes, you had the anthems, right? You always had that style, like the promo only stuff, whatever. But the difference is that you also had the element. You had the real, that tribal element. You had that soul. You had that groove. You had that, you know what I'm saying, that people could relate to as well.
And he think I don't know. Our trips to the store. They never had what you went there for. That you say to trust you more, or is it the fact that you believe that your girl is just so naive? But the one thing I can't deny is what I saw in my own two eyes, and he think I don't know. He must think I'm stupid.
You also had the Latin vibe from like Strictly Rhythm and stuff like that kept everything secure because it was just part of that culture. Then you also had your soulful house scene, the Masters at Work. You had, all of that as well. So you had everything. You had, the dancers, the breakers. You had everything starting and being fabricated. But now you don't have that anymore So you have now the gentrification, and you have more of an open scene where you have now more people that were not involved in the original culture involved now. You see what I'm saying? That's very important.
And also, I've kind of noticed that there has become a lack of ethnic diversity within music and the ethnic perspective. Recently, I was at Panorama Bar and with my friend David, and there's this guy with one of the original Paradise Garage shirts, and he goes, "Hey, what's different here than what was at the garage?" And the guy's like, we have the music, you have the gay culture, that's cool, it's going on. But he's like, there's no diversity here, it's mostly European, mostly Caucasian. It's like, hey, what have we really lost? And that is diversity, and now we're starting to lose diversity also in economic class of the people who are allowed to even go to clubbing.
But to your point, on some other research shit, since the new census came out, it's so expensive to live in New York and so tedious. Radio stations are a reflection of what's already happening. So when you're talking about the black experience in New York, the black experience in New York has changed.
It is changing too.
Where black people were in New York City in the 90s, in the 80s, in the 70s,
no longer here.
They're not there. They're in Jersey in the suburbs, gone. How many of our family members that lived in New York
to Atlanta,
moved to North Carolina, moved to Atlanta because the life is better?
That's true.
Right?
So now, even like a Seth Schrockler saying, when you have like a place like Output and Vertibon, whatever, a lot of it is tech. You have the hipsters, you have the people that's, basically lack of diversity. It's because of the sound. The sound is not like, and you have New York. New York love their classics, bro. New York, like you put on Follow Me, you put on Lizette Melendez freestyle, you put on Coro, like cats will go crazy. Masters at Work, cats will go crazy. But when you go to a place like Output and Vodabon, right? This is now where I'm coming back to Oscar G now. Oscar G is a DJ, right? The dude's been around for a long time. He's a legend, right? Dude, he's got a balancing act, and he's holding down New York right now because he's got his sound, and he's true to his sound. He's not like Boris. He's not like Victor Calderon, going around and playing some stuff, whatever. I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's bad, but what I'm saying in terms of like cats really understanding like the essence, what I'm saying, of like the drums and like the Latin vibe. Cause New York, man, is like Boricua, Caribbean, black, what I'm saying? And it's got like the Italians, the Jewish, so it's got that sort of that soul that comes from all of that. It's like that urban culture vibe, what I'm saying? So now when you have now people that come from a different aesthetic, it sort of disrupts everything. So now old dude, he called him out and he was like, man, like that wasn't you, whatever. But with you guy like Oscar G, he has his sound that he's preserved. He hasn't done like all these other dudes and just went off at the mouth and be like, oh, I'm just gonna just change my sound and go techno, and then when the style comes back and I'll play hip hop. And no offense to those guys, but that's the reality of things. I mean, let's keep it 100, right? New York is doing the same thing. New York, you have cats like doing all kind of like, down south stuff, and cats are like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So Oscar G right now, he's in a position right now where he's holding it down. But he's also holding it down for like Miami, because that's where he's from. And he's really big on local support. He's big on culture. Like he's really about the roots. And that's because that comes from the Afro-Caribbean, fabric in us. Like we really understand that. Like you got this new producer right now. He's doing bachata mixed with like mumbo time, mixed with like dubstep or whatever. But he's talking about, he's 22 years old, he's from Miami, and he's talking about how he wants to work with like the veterans and the vets, like the old time salsa heads and like the merengue heads before they die. So when you hear his music, you hear the culture in it, right? But right now, when I go to New York, when I hear like, when I go to the clubs and I hear sounds, I hear tech, I don't hear the culture. I don't hear the culture. Like, stop telling me that I hear the culture. I don't hear the culture. When I hear Oscar G, even though I don't like a lot of his music because some of it is just too dark, but I hear the culture though. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, it's about respecting the culture. It's not about always what you want to hear. But what happened is that with Oscar G, he's got to put it on because he's being backed by Nervous. You know what I'm saying? So he's got a responsibility, for New York. So he's doing what he needs to do and create a balance that it's like, okay, I'm gonna give you what you can. I can't give you all of me. I can't give you all the drums because right now we're in that weird place right now where I gotta create that balance and act. Some people will get it, some people won't. Some people are like, oh, but Oscar G, how come you didn't put it on with the drums all night? I understand that. And Oscar G totally gets it. But at the same time, he's got to do what he's got to do until the culture comes back. And I don't know if it's coming back, but cats like me are trying to represent so we could, hopefully do it. A lot of cats are saying that New York, the sound is not coming back. But I'm going to tell you right now, even take Dario Datis. He just signed with Stealth. He's now with Strictly Rhythm. I've been following old dude since 2009. You know what I'm saying to you? I know his sound. He's from Switzerland. You know what I'm saying? I've been following his sound. All these guys, like you name them when it comes to house, I've been following him. But now he's changing his sound now. And I'm not really feeling it. Yeah, it's got the culture, it's got the beats, but it's not him though. It doesn't have the soul. It doesn't have, you know what I'm saying? It's right now, it's just music. It's like he just put things, and the thing is, a lot of people are thinking, oh, these guys don't know. They just no, it's the fact that we're being so dumbed down that these guys have no other choice but to just throw stuff out there. Because the culture is, you know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because the gentrified people, they don't understand that. They don't understand the soul. They don't understand that. They'll get the dusky stuff, but when you take in the drums and you put in that Latin soul, that Afro soul, that black soul in there, that funk, we need to get back to regions. We need to get back to our sounds. We need to stop being so open and where you have guys just come on and just throw up their stuff on some record label and they don't even get cultivated. And it was like, oh, we just need you because, yeah, that was a nice tech sound.
The biggest problem today is the lack of development of artists and people within companies that passionately, and outside of companies, managers, people inside of record labels that will passionately fight for their artists. I could never have signed Prince today in this atmosphere. Record labels, the record labels should be developing artists. That's their business, not bringing it to them on a silver platter. Because what happens is you have an A&R man at a record label, A&R person at a record label, and they're not being groomed and developed. Because if they sign the XYZ Act and that act doesn't make it, they're out of a job. It's like instantaneous. It's the McDonald's.
Bro, I talked to all the cats. Pause. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, how come you're not playing that good groovy house, with the real soul, that real funk? They don't play it anymore because of the fact that people want tech or EDM. It wasn't like that before.
What do you think can be done to sort of cross-pollinate where it's not so segregated, where you have EDM tents and then, other kinds of music? Usually there's a techno tent. It's become sort of two polar opposites. You either got extreme commercial, you have extreme underground. There's sort of like no middle of the road anymore. And in the interesting thing is, like, in sort of like underground, a lot of DJs play the same kind of records too, except with underground stuff you don't know what's being played a lot of times.
And we're at a point now where we have to call the systems for what they are. Talking Heads made that transition out of the underground, made the cool records, then made the hit records, and now they're a classic band. Okay, Arcade Fire is not going to get there because they're not going to be allowed to make that transition. The precocious indie world is going to keep dragging on their ankles down, and the leap is too far for them to go across. Because what are they going to do? Start making Nickelback singles? The major label system is narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and getting more bland, and the precocious indie world is getting more precocious. And this gulf is emerging, and the bands are caught, and they're supposed to choose, and they're both shit options.
So we all like the Rolling Stones and the Who and the Beatles because like we had no other choice.
So I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. If Cheap Trick was a new band now, they'd be huge. If the Beatles were a new band right now, they'd be huge. I'm sorry, the great bands are still going to get over. But they didn't have a world dragging on their fucking ankles to keep them in indie world. And there's a whole subculture now that the blogging and all that's predicated on keeping those bands exactly where they are because they're in that business. They're in the business of saying, no, you football player, don't come over here. We're in the cool club. Okay, I grew up with that same shit. If those 100,000 people are sophisticated enough to understand what they need to do to get their band to mean something on a bigger level, which will change the world, which will change the culture, which will subvert the shit they don't like, and get that stuff out of the way, they'll understand how to go into that right business. And whether it's networking or stuff like that, the audience has to get past this idea that this is a dirty thing to help those artists. You know what I mean? That's got to end.
So these guys have to not compromise their sound. I know guys in Spain that were charted guys that were doing their thing on compilations. I know record label owners that were charted on number 1, number 2, charted albums. Even recently, a couple years ago, they don't get booked because cats are not feeling the house. They're feeling the tech stuff and the EDM stuff and the more like that, whatever. And people think it's the same thing. No, you don't understand. It's not the same thing. So that's why I understand where that dude, he was coming from. But we have to now understand that we're in that balance and we got to now bring it back. We got to bring it back. You know what I'm saying to you? Like, I'm still doing tutorials. I'm still consulting booking agencies, nightclubs, DJs. I'm still doing it. But I'm doing it in a way that I'm teaching it in reverse because we cannot have it where catches are now starting from the beginning. In order to know the road ahead, you have to ask those coming back. I'm not traveling the world, so I don't have to worry about being stuck and compromising my sound. I can talk, I can have conversations. Like even Seth said it. Listen to what he said.
Growing up and being of color, I mean, it's hard, and it's not a thing about color. Obviously, I'm a very unracist person, but being of color, you just growing up, you have a different set of points from either your family, how you grow up, the music that you listen to, the food that you eat, and also the adversities that you have to overcome. And when you're creating music with that small perspective in your mind, the music is going to be different. The ideas are different from, let's say, someone coming from Germany.
It's interesting that you would feel the thing you take about cultural diversity, because when I started out, the only place you could find house music or whatever when I first came to New York was Paradise Garage or Danceteria, and dominated by gay,
black, and Latino.
Gay, black community and Latino. So actually, the only place I could go to find that, and in Chicago, that's immediately what you got. So it would never strike you that, that was the normal.
Switch back. Yeah.
But you'd think you'd get that in Panorama Bar as well.
A little bit, but you would think, but not so much. It is in Germany.
Okay. That's
not the most culturally diverse place in the world.
I thought Berlin was so cool.
You heard that, right? Think about that. Like, I'm not the one that said it. Seth said it. And so we're trying to preserve the culture. Like, you look at dudes like Martinez brothers, man. Like, I know they're doing their thing, but if you think about it, it's the same thing. Like, right now, when they started off, they were playing that, that groovy stuff. And I'm not saying what they're playing is bad, but what I'm saying to you is that people don't understand. We don't gravitate towards that. We don't connect to that. So now when you start doing stuff that it doesn't connect to the original folk, what happened? It moves away. And people talking about it evolves. No, it's not evolving. It's something totally different. Just like Stacy said.
Most of the David Guetta shit now is more electro techno.
Think about when David Guetta started off.
No, but I'm saying,
was he that way before?
No, he wasn't. But his
was
man.
Bob Sinclair?
No.
They was soulful. Everybody was soulful.
Yeah, exactly.
Avicii.
Exactly.
Avicii was soulful as hell.
But you know what it is? That's what them people that paying that money want to hear. That shit. That's always been huge. No matter how many years you go back.
They stepped it up and they took.
No, they ain't stepped it up, dude. They changed genres. That's what they did.
No,
that's what they did. I'm telling you. You just said it. Then they used to make soulful shit. They stopped doing that and went to other shit.
You see what I'm saying to you? So like, stop with this evolving stuff, man. Yeah, like you evolve, but when you now you take up your stuff and you move to another country and you don't even look back and call back and say, hey, I'm just checking on you, whatever. At least, give me a couple tracks to remind me, whatever. You just turn your back like Axwell did. You didn't think I know, right? I got his records. Steve Angelo. I got all these Laid Back Luke, Avicii. I got all their records. You didn't know that, man. I'm telling you, I go way back, man. Like, I'm in this for real. These guys were doing soulful stuff. And I'm not saying that they can't do what they want to do here. But what happened is that when you just turn your back on the culture, guess what happens? You are now a culture vulture. Bottom line. And you have a lot of culture vultures here. Roger Sanchez, I really don't mess with him. He took, I'm going back to the house. Bro, why you keep telling me, I'm going back? I'm going to have a conversation with you too on one of these videos talking about, I'm going back. Why you keep going back for? Every 2 years, Roger Sanchez is on like, I'm going back to. And then I saw you when you came back and we didn't go back to shit, bro. You were playing some of that tech groove like this the whole entire night. But I understand because you were playing to a bunch of 18-year-old people that weren't part of the culture. But nobody wants to talk about it though. Anyway, I just wanted to just talk about it. And Oscar G, I salute you, my man. You're doing your thing. I mean, listen, I'm gonna be up front. I'm not a big Oscar G fan. I like some of your stuff. I liked you back when you were in Miami, when you were playing different stuff here and there. But I understand what you're doing. I understand what you're doing, bro. So I respect you. I respect your hustle. And right now, nobody's holding it down like Oscar G. Yeah, you got Masters at Work. You got all these guys, on that other level. But what I'm talking about in terms of culture, in terms of like being pushed, on a level that everyone can understand. Because Masters at Work, a lot of people understand them, but they're very, very, like you have to be. I'm not saying that not everyone understands it, but not everyone understands Masters at Work. You know what I'm saying to you? Like when he plays this stuff, like you really, it's for the culture. You know what I'm saying to you? Like you got to be cultured to really understand what he's doing. Where Oscar G, he can give you more of that legendary stuff, but also give you some of the stuff that the gentrified folks, would mostly appreciate. And I'm not talking about gentrification in terms of color. I'm talking about just the non-cultured. Masters at Work, Louis Vega, they've been able to do that as well, but they're not going to just totally just, compromise their sound. You know what I'm saying? They're going to keep it funky, disco and stuff like that. And people that really understand and appreciate that, they're going to go for that. But I think Oscar G on that other level where he relates to more of like the younger cats, and they understand him, and he's able to sort of keep that balance. It's just a different way of. It's just different. Like we're all different, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not taking anything away from like Masters at Work, whatever like that. Kenny or Dewey, whatever like that. It's just different. Even David Morales, like like he was doing his thing, but he's just on a different level. Like you can't compare him to Oscar G. It's just different sound, different balance, different way of life. And he's more international doing his thing. So anyway, I just wanted to just say that Again, it's just one of those things where we got to start, bringing things back to the regions, man. Because what happened is that you have guys that are in Spain that are not even moving. They're making music like crazy. You know what I'm saying? But they're not even leaving their countries. They're not even, moving out. They have to make their muscle by mastering or other ways, because they're just people that are not feeling their house. You know what I'm saying? They're not feeling that Latin tech sound as much, as the other stuff. They are, but it's very underground right now, which is good. So I think it's good. At the end of the day, I think it's good. But I think what happened is that if you are not regional, it doesn't allow the younger local cats to start coming up and move forward. And you know what I'm saying? So you got to really teach history and understand that. But, we really got to get into that and start moving forward. Because I think the bubble bursted. And what I mean by bubble bursted was that we have now all these cats coming in and 3, 4, 5 DJs, blah, 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 blah. And now there's no more local sound. There's no more local support, no more local DJs. Everything is event-driven marketing, event-driven music. You have no local support, no residency. And I think it's really hurting the game right now. It hurt the game. It killed it. I'm sorry. It just killed it already. And we all know that. So anyway, I know it's a long video, but I needed to get that out. Johnny Fontana, Half Amazing TV. Check me out on my next videos. I got a tutorial coming up. I have some exclusive sneaker videos. Got some records, some classic records, vinyl that I haven't opened up yet. I got them just chilling. Got some Strictly Rhythm in there. Got some old classics by Mr. Fingers. So anyway. But salute, man. Subscribe, leave your comments down below, man. Let's have this conversation, man. It's just about keeping it together. You know what I'm saying? And I'm on that movement, and I hope that you guys can stay classic and follow me. Johnny Fontana, Half Amazing TV. We out.
We'll do it live! Fuck it! Fucking thing sucks!